Dr. Richard Castellano ripped the ID badge from Maya Thompson's scrubs. "You're done," he said, dropping it in the trash. 23 years. Gone. Maya stared at the wastebasket. Her face was still on that badge. Her name. Her whole career crumpled next to coffee cups and discarded paperwork. "I saved that boy's life," she whispered. "You violated protocol." Castellano pushed a cardboard box across his desk. "You undermined my authority in front of my staff. You made me look incompetent. Jamal would be dead if I'd waited. Jamal isn't my problem anymore, and neither are you." He smiled. Actually smiled. "Security is waiting, Ms. Thompson. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Before we see what happens next, hit subscribe and comment your city below. Because tomorrow, 2 military helicopters will land in downtown Philadelphia, screaming one question: "Where's the nurse? Stay until the end." Maya Thompson had exactly $47 in her checking account when Dr. Richard Castellano destroyed her life. She knew the number because she'd checked her phone 3 times during her shift, each time feeling that familiar knot of anxiety tighten in her stomach. Rent was due in 5 days. Her twin daughters needed new shoes. The electricity bill was already 2 weeks late. But none of that mattered now because she was standing in the administrative office on the 3rd floor of Roosevelt Medical Center with her nurse supervisor, Janet Morris, avoiding eye contact while Castellano recited her crimes like a prosecutor at a murder trial. October 12th, 2:15 p.m. Castellano read from a printed document. "You administered 0.3 milligrams of epinephrine to a pediatric patient without physician authorization. He was in anaphylactic shock," Maya said quietly. "His oxygen saturation was at 72% and dropping. You interrupted my examination to access the crash cart. You were on the phone with insurance verification." Castellano's jaw tightened. He was a tall man, early 50s, with silver hair styled expensively, and a white coat so pristine it looked like he'd never actually touched a patient. The coat had his name embroidered in gold thread: Richard Castellano III, MD Fax, Chief of Surgery. The letters after his name were armor. The Roman numeral after his name was a dynasty. "I was following proper protocol," he said, his voice getting sharper. "Something you seem incapable of understanding. Do you know what it costs this hospital when nurses play doctor? When they make unilateral decisions that expose us to liability? Do you know what it costs when a 6-year-old boy stops breathing?" Maya shot back and immediately regretted it. Janet Morris put a warning hand on Maya's arm, but it was too late. Castellano stood up slowly. He walked around his desk with the deliberate pace of a man who'd never been challenged and didn't intend to start today. He stopped directly in front of Maya, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Something expensive. Something that probably cost more than her monthly car payment. "Let me explain something to you," he said softly, which was somehow worse than yelling. "This hospital operates on a hierarchy. It exists for a reason. I went to Johns Hopkins for medical school. I did my residency at Mass General. I have privileges at 4 hospitals in this city. My family donated $12 million for the new cardiac wing. When I make a decision, it's based on years of training and institutional knowledge." He paused, looking down at Maya's ID badge. "You went to community college. You're a nurse. A good nurse, I'll grant you that. But you're not a physician. You don't make treatment decisions. You execute them. And when you undermine my authority in front of staff and patients, you make it impossible for this institution to function." Maya felt heat rising in her chest. 23 years. 23 years of double shifts and missed dance recitals and Christmas Eves spent in the ER because someone had to cover. 23 years of holding the hands of dying patients and comforting terrified families and doing the actual work while doctors like Castellano breezed in for 5 minutes, made a diagnosis, and breezed back out. Jamal Washington would be dead if I'd waited for you to finish your phone call, Maya said, keeping her voice level. His mother would be planning a funeral right now, instead of taking her son home tomorrow. That's not the point. Then what is the point, Doctor? Castellano smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of a man who knew he held all the cards and was about to lay down a royal flush. And the point, Ms. Thompson, is that I requested your termination 3 hours ago, and HR has approved it. You're fired. Effective immediately. The words hit like a physical blow. Maya actually took a step backward. You can't, she breathed. I have seniority, union protection. I followed my nursing judgment. I saved a patient's life. You violated hospital protocol, Castellano corrected. He walked back to his desk and picked up another document. You created a hostile work environment. You engaged in gross insubordination. You placed this institution at legal risk. Janet has the termination paperwork. You'll sign it, collect your personal belongings, and security will escort you from the building. Your access credentials have already been deactivated. Maya looked at Janet Morris. Janet had been her supervisor for 8 years. They'd worked night shifts together. They'd covered for each other during sick days. Janet had come to her wedding back when Thomas was still alive, back when life made sense. Janet wouldn't meet her eyes. Janet, Maya said. Say something. Janet Morris clutched a manila folder against her chest like a shield. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. I tried, Maya. I went to HR. I explained the situation, but Dr. Castellano filed a formal complaint and the board backed him up. There's nothing I can do. There's always something you can do, Maya said, hearing the desperation creep into her voice. You know this is wrong. You know I did the right thing. The right thing doesn't matter, Janet said miserably. The legal thing matters. The documented thing matters. I'm sorry. She held out the folder. Maya didn't take it. She looked at Castellano instead. This is about ego, she said. This isn't about protocol or liability or hospital policy. This is about the fact that I made you look bad in front of the ER staff. You hesitated and I didn't. You were worried about covering your ass and I was worried about a dying child. And now you're firing me because you can't handle the fact that sometimes a nurse knows better than a doctor. Castellano's expression didn't change. He'd probably heard variations of this speech before. He'd probably destroyed other careers with the same cold efficiency. Sign the papers, Ms. Thompson, or we'll add refusal to cooperate to your file, which will make it significantly harder for you to find work elsewhere. I'm told you have twin daughters. 14 years old, college isn't cheap. You'll need references. The threat was clear. Sign, stay quiet, and maybe he'd let her leave with her professional reputation intact. Fight back, and he'd make sure she never worked as a nurse again. Maya thought about her girls. Jasmine and Jade, her whole world, her reason for getting up every morning. Jasmine wanted to be an engineer. Jade wanted to study marine biology. Both of them were smart enough, driven enough, but college required money. Money required a job. A job required references. She took the folder from Janet's hands. I need a pen, she said quietly. Castellano pushed a gold pen across his desk. Probably a Mont Blanc. Probably cost more than Maya made in a week. She signed her name on 3 different documents without reading them. Her signature looked shaky. Defeated. Your ID badge, Castellano said, extending his hand. Maya unclipped the badge from her scrubs. The badge had her photo from 5 years ago, back when she still smiled in pictures. Back when Thomas was alive. The plastic was worn smooth from 23 years of daily use. She'd worn this badge through the pandemic, through budget cuts, through staffing shortages that left her covering 2 units by herself. She placed it in Castellano's palm. He closed his fingers around it like he was crushing something. Your key card and locker key. Maya pulled the lanyard from around her neck. The key card that opened the staff entrance, the medication room, the supply closets, the locker key on its plastic fob. Gone. Janet will escort you to collect your personal items, Castellano said, already turning back to his computer. You have 15 minutes. Security has been notified. The dismissal was complete. To him, Maya was already gone. Already forgotten. Just another nurse who'd forgotten her place. But then his phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his expression shifted just for a second. Irritation. He rejected the call. Is there a problem? Maya asked, catching the flicker. Nothing that concerns you, Castellano said. You're dismissed. Maya walked out of the office on numb legs. The corridor outside was empty, thankfully. No witnesses to her humiliation. Janet walked beside her in miserable silence. I really am sorry, Janet said when they reached the elevator. If there was anything I could do. There was something you could do, Maya interrupted. You could have stood up for me. You could have told them the truth. You could have had my back. I have a mortgage, Maya. I have a son in college. I can't afford to lose this job. And I can... The elevator arrived. They rode down in silence. Maya watched the numbers descend. 3rd floor, 2nd floor, 1st floor. Each number felt like a countdown to the end of everything. The doors opened to chaos. The ER was packed. Sirens wailed outside. 2 ambulances had just pulled up. A trauma alert was blaring over the intercom. Nurses were running. Doctors were shouting orders. Somewhere a child was screaming. And there in the middle of it all stood Jamal Washington's mother. She was talking to a young resident, gesturing emphatically. When she saw Maya step off the elevator, her face lit up. Nurse Thompson, she called out, rushing over. I was just asking for you. Jamal wanted me to bring you something. She held out a folded piece of construction paper. A card. Crayon drawings of hearts and flowers. He made it this morning, Mrs. Washington said, smiling wide. He wanted to thank you for saving his life. The doctor said if you hadn't acted when you did, if you'd waited even one more minute. I can't accept this, Maya said quietly, not taking the card. Why not? You're his hero. You're my hero. Janet touched Maya's elbow. A warning. Don't make a scene. I don't work here anymore, Maya said. As of today, I've been terminated. Mrs. Washington's smile vanished. What? Why? Hospital policy. I violated protocol when I treated Jamal. You saved his life. That's not how they see it. Mrs. Washington looked at Janet. Is this true? They fired her for saving my son. Janet looked away. That's insane, Mrs. Washington said, her voice rising. That's absolutely insane. Who do I talk to? Who's in charge? It doesn't matter, Maya said. The decision is final. I'm glad Jamal is doing well. That's all that matters. She tried to move past, but Mrs. Washington grabbed her arm. No, she said firmly. That's not all that matters. You lost your job because of my son. Because you did the right thing. That matters. That matters a lot. Other people were starting to notice. Nurses were glancing over. A doctor paused mid-stride. I need to go, Maya said. Security is waiting. She gently pulled free from Mrs. Washington's grip and walked toward the nurses' break room. Behind her, she heard Mrs. Washington demanding to speak to an administrator. Demanding answers. Making a scene. Good, Maya thought bitterly. Someone should. The break room was empty. Everyone was dealing with the trauma alert. Maya's locker was in the back corner near the vending machines that never worked. She spun the combination lock with muscle memory. Inside a framed photo of Jasmine and Jade at their 8th grade graduation last year, both of them beaming in matching blue dresses, a spare pair of sneakers, A cardigan because the hospital was always freezing. A coffee mug from this girl's hand-painted that said, "World's Best Mom" in uneven letters. A stethoscope that had been her mother's old and scratched but still perfectly functional. Her mother had been a nurse, too. 40 years at this same hospital back when it was called something different. Back when nursing meant something. Back when doctors treated nurses like colleagues instead of subordinates. Maya picked up her mother's stethoscope. The tubing was cracked. The earpieces were worn, but it still worked. Her mother had used this stethoscope through 4 decades of saving lives. She'd passed it to Maya the day Maya graduated nursing school. "You're going to do great things," her mother had said. "Just remember why you're doing this. It's not about the money or the recognition. It's about the patient in front of you. That's all that ever matters." Maya had believed that once. She'd built her career on that principle, and it had gotten her fired. She packed everything into a cardboard box someone had left by the recycling bin. It all fit easily. 23 years reduced to a box light enough to carry with one hand. The door opened behind her. Maya turned, expecting Janet. It was Jessica Chen, one of the ER nurses. Young, idealistic, maybe 2 years out of nursing school. "Is it true?" Jessica asked. "Did they really fire you?" "Yes." "For saving Jamal, for violating protocol." Jessica looked like she wanted to cry. "That's not fair. You're the best trauma nurse we have. You've taught me everything I know." "Then I taught you well enough to keep working without me." "But what are we supposed to do when Dr. Castellano pulls this again? When he puts paperwork ahead of patients? Are we just supposed to let people die?" Maya closed her locker. The metal door clanged shut with a finality that echoed through the small room. "I don't know, Jessica. I honestly don't know." "I want to quit," Jessica said suddenly. "I want to walk out right now. If they fired you, they don't deserve any of us." "Don't," Maya said sharply. "Don't throw away your career for me. You have student loans. You have a future. Stay. Do the job. Be smart about it." "But promise me," Maya insisted. "Promise me you won't do anything stupid." Jessica's eyes were wet. "I promise." "Good." Maya picked up her box and walked past Jessica out of the break room for the last time. The ER was still chaotic. The trauma alert was still blaring. And there, standing by the nurses' station talking to 2 uniformed officers, was Marcus Washington, the security guard. He saw Maya, and his face fell. "Hey, Maya," he said softly as she approached. "I'm supposed to walk you out." "I know, Marcus. It's okay." One of the police officers looked at Maya with interest. "You're the nurse who saved the kid yesterday?" "Yes." "My partner's cousin works here," the officer said. "She told us what happened. Said you were getting screwed for doing the right thing." "Language Davis," the other officer said. "I'm just saying. It's messed up." Marcus took Maya's elbow gently. "Come on, let's get this over with." They walked through the ER together, Maya clutching her box, Marcus walking a respectful distance behind. The place was busy. Friday afternoon always was. Nurses hustled between rooms. Doctors barked orders. Somewhere someone was coding. Maya could hear it. The urgent rhythm of chest compressions, the mechanical voice of the defibrillator. Clear. Shock delivered. She'd been part of this symphony for 23 years. Now she was just walking through it like a ghost. David Kim looked up from a computer terminal. His eyes went wide. He opened his mouth to say something, then closed it. Looked away. Patricia Rodriguez stopped mid-stride when she saw Maya. Her hand went to her mouth, but she didn't say anything. Couldn't say anything. Sarah Mitchell, the newest nurse on the unit, actually started crying. She turned her face away, but Maya saw. Not one of them spoke up. Maya understood. They couldn't afford to lose their jobs either. They had mortgages, car payments, student loans. Speaking up for her meant becoming the next target. The next nurse Castellano decided to make an example of. The automatic doors of the ER entrance opened. Cold October air hit Maya's face. It was 3:30 in the afternoon. The sky was gray, threatening rain. Traffic on Market Street was heavy. The city moved on indifferent to the small tragedy of one woman losing her career. Marcus stopped at the threshold. "I can't go past here," he said. "Hospital property ends at the sidewalk." "I know." "Maya, for what it's worth, you did the right thing. Every single person in that ER knows it." "Knowing doesn't pay my rent, Marcus." "I know." He paused. "Look, my wife does hiring for Jefferson Hospital. If you want, I can give her your number." "I'd appreciate that." "And Maya, don't let this break you. You're too good at what you do." She nodded, not trusting her voice. She stepped through the doors. They slid shut behind her with a pneumatic hiss that sounded like a final breath. Maya stood on the sidewalk in her blue scrubs, clutching a cardboard box, and tried to figure out what came next. Her car was at home. The transmission had died last week, and the repair estimate was $800 she didn't have. She'd been taking the bus to work. The bus stop was 6 blocks away. 6 blocks in scrubs carrying a box of her terminated career, while the sky threatened rain, and her phone buzzed with a text from her electric company reminding her that her account was past due. She started walking. The first few drops of rain started falling when Maya reached the 2nd block. By the 4th block, it was a steady drizzle. By the 6th block, it was a downpour. Her scrubs were soaked through. The cardboard box was getting soft, starting to disintegrate in her hands. The photo of her daughters was probably getting wet. Her mother's stethoscope would be fine. Metal and rubber didn't care about rain. A young man bumped into her in a hurry, talking loudly on his phone. He didn't apologize, just kept walking. Maya stumbled, nearly dropped the box. "Watch it, lady," someone else muttered. Lady. Not nurse, not professional, just lady. Another person in the way. Maya kept walking. The rain came harder. Water ran down her face, mixing with tears she didn't remember starting to cry. A bus roared past, splashing dirty water from a pothole. It soaked her from the knees down. She looked down at her ruined sneakers and wanted to laugh, or scream. She wasn't sure which. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She ignored it. Probably another bill. Another reminder that she was drowning financially and had just lost her only lifeline. By the time she reached the bus stop, she was shivering. The box was falling apart. The bench had no cover. The shelter that was supposed to protect waiting passengers had been vandalized months ago and never repaired. Water dripped through holes in the plexiglass. She sat down and cried. Not loud, dramatic sobs, just quiet tears mixing with the rain on her face. 23 years. 2 decades of her life given to that hospital. And Castellano had erased it in 15 minutes because she'd dared to save a child without permission. Her phone buzzed again. She pulled it out. Text from Jasmine. "Mom, when are you coming home? We're hungry." Maya checked her bank account. Still $47. She could buy groceries or pay the electric bill, but not both. She could make spaghetti. The girls liked spaghetti. Noodles were cheap. Sauce was cheap. She could make it work until she figured out what came next. If there was a next. A woman sat down next to her on the bench. Older, maybe 60. Sensible shoes and a raincoat. "Rough day?" the woman asked. Maya nodded, not trusting her voice. "I've been there," the woman said. "Lost my job 3 years ago. Thought it was the end of the world." "What happened?" "Found something better. Took a while, but I did." She patted Maya's shoulder. "You will too." The woman got up when her bus arrived. She gave Maya a small wave and was gone. Maya wanted to believe her. She wanted to believe that this was just a setback, that something better was coming. But sitting in the rain with a disintegrating cardboard box and $47 to her name, belief felt impossible. The bus pulled up. The driver looked at Maya with pity. She probably looked pathetic. Soaked scrubs, falling apart, cardboard box, red eyes from crying. "You getting on?" the driver asked. Maya looked at the fare reader. $3. She had $47 and needed to buy food for her daughters and figure out how to keep the lights on. "Yes," she said. She picked up her box carefully, trying to keep it from completely falling apart, and climbed aboard. The bus was nearly empty. An elderly man reading a newspaper. A teenager with headphones. A woman in a business suit typing on her phone. People living their normal lives while Maya's life crumbled. She sat near the front and watched the city pass by through rain-streaked windows. Philadelphia looked gray and tired. The buildings all seemed to lean inward, closing in. Her phone buzzed. This time it was "Jade, Mom Jasmine is being mean. Tell her to stop." Normal sister stuff. Normal family stuff. Her daughters had no idea their mother had just been fired. They had no idea how close they were to losing everything. Maya had always protected them from the financial stress from the late bills and the careful budgeting. She'd wanted them to focus on school, on their futures, on becoming whoever they wanted to be. Now she was going to have to tell them that maybe college wasn't going to happen. Maybe they'd need to look at community college. Maybe they'd need to take out loans, lots of loans, the kind that took decades to pay off. The kind Maya was still paying off. A woman got on at the next stop. Hospital scrubs. Jefferson Hospital, judging by the logo. She glanced at Maya's Roosevelt badge, still clipped to her soaked top, and nodded in professional solidarity. Nurses recognized each other. Nurses understood. Maya wanted to tell her, "Don't get too comfortable. Don't think your job is safe. One decision, one moment of choosing the patient over protocol, and you'll be on this bus too." But she said nothing. The nurse got off 3 stops later. A businessman got on talking loudly about quarterly earnings. A mother with 2 small children struggling with a stroller. Life continuing. Maya's phone buzzed with a news alert. She almost ignored it, but the headline caught her eye. Vice President's grandson hospitalized after playground accident in Philadelphia. She clicked on the article. Details were sparse. 7-year-old Nathan Chen grandson of Vice President Jennifer Chen had been injured at a campaign event earlier that day. He'd been transported to an undisclosed location, condition unknown. The vice president had canceled all remaining campaign stops and was heading to Philadelphia. Maya felt a pang of sympathy. She knew what it was like to worry about a child, to feel helpless. The bus lurched to a stop. Her stop. Maya stood up, cradling the dying cardboard box, and made her way to the front. "Take care of yourself," the bus driver said. "Thanks." Maya stepped off the bus into the rain. Her apartment was 2 blocks away. 2 more blocks. She could make it. Halfway there, the bottom of the box gave out. The photo of her daughters landed in a puddle. Her mother's stethoscope clattered on the concrete. The coffee mug bounced once and cracked. The cardigan absorbed water like a sponge. Maya stood there in the rain and looked at her belongings scattered on the wet sidewalk and thought, this is rock bottom. This is what the end looks like. A car drove past, splashing more water on her legs. She bent down and started gathering everything. The photo was ruined, the ink already bleeding. The mug was broken a clean crack down the middle. But the stethoscope was fine. Of course it was fine. Her mother had used that stethoscope for 40 years. It had survived worse than rain. Maya tucked everything against her chest and walked the last block without a box, just carrying everything in her arms like a burden she couldn't put down. Her apartment building was a 3-story walk-up that had been built in the 70s and hadn't been updated since. The landlord was fighting a code violation for the broken heating system. The stairs creaked. The hallway smelled like someone was cooking fish. Home. Maya climbed to the 2nd floor and unlocked her door. The apartment was small but clean. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, a kitchen barely big enough to turn around in. The girl's bedroom door was closed. She could hear music playing, probably Jasmine's playlist, something with too much bass. She set her wet belongings on the kitchen counter and peeled off her soaked scrubs. They hit the floor with a splat. She stood in her kitchen in her underwear, dripping on the linoleum, and wondered what the hell she was supposed to do now. Tell the girls. That's what came first. She had to tell them. Maya pulled on dry clothes, sweatpants, t-shirt, Thomas's old college hoodie that she still wore sometimes because it smelled like him, even though that was impossible after 3 years. Her hands were shaking as she walked to the girl's bedroom door and knocked. "Girls, can I come in?" "Jasmine won't let me use her charger," Jade complained immediately when Maya opened the door. "Because you broke your own charger," Jasmine shot back. "How is that my problem?" They were sitting on their twin beds facing each other in classic argument poses. Jasmine with her arms crossed, Jade with an exaggerated pout. Both of them so beautiful it hurt. Both of them looking more like their father every day. Jasmine had his eyes. Jade had his smile. "I need to talk to you both," Maya said. Something in her voice made them stop arguing. They looked at her, really looked, and saw something was wrong. "Mom," Jasmine asked slowly, "what happened?" Maya sat down on Jade's bed. The mattress sagged. They'd been meaning to replace it for 2 years. Add it to the list of things they couldn't afford. "I was fired today," Maya said simply. She'd rehearsed different ways to say it during the bus ride, but in the end, there was no good way. "Dr. Castellano terminated my employment." Silence. Complete, total silence. Then Jade asked in a small voice, "Why?" "Because I saved a patient's life without following proper protocol." "That's stupid," Jasmine said immediately. Her voice was sharp, angry. She got that from Thomas, too. "You're the best nurse at that hospital. Everybody says so." "Apparently that doesn't matter. Can you fight it?" Jasmine was practical like her father, always thinking 3 steps ahead. "Don't you have a union? Can't you file a grievance?" "I could try, but Dr. Castellano's family donated millions to the hospital. They have lawyers, good ones. Even if I won eventually, we don't have time to wait for eventually. I need a job now." Jasmine's expression hardened. She was 14, but sometimes she looked 30. "How bad is it?" Maya appreciated that her daughter didn't try to pretend everything would be fine. Jasmine deserved honesty. "Bad," Maya admitted. "I have $47 in checking. Rent is due in 5 days. The electricity bill is late. We have food for maybe 3 more days if I'm careful." Jade's eyes filled with tears. "Are we going to be homeless?" "No," Maya said firmly, pulling Jade close. "No, I won't let that happen. I'll figure something out. I always do." But even as she said it, she knew it was a lie. She had no idea what came next. No backup plan, no safety net. "I can get a job," Jasmine offered. Her voice was steady, determined. "McDonald's is hiring. I saw a sign." "You're 14. You're supposed to focus on school." "School doesn't matter if we don't have a place to live," Jasmine said. She stood up, pacing the small room. And I can do both. Work nights and weekends. Keep my grades up. I can help. Me too, Jade added, quickly wiping her eyes. I can babysit. Mrs. Patterson next door is always asking. Maya looked at her daughters, her brave, beautiful, selfless daughters who were offering to sacrifice their childhoods because their mother had lost her job for doing the right thing. No, Maya said. Absolutely not. You're kids. This is not your burden to carry. But Mom! No, Maya repeated firmly. I'm the parent. I'll handle this. You focus on school, on being 14, on being kids while you still can. That's not fair, Jasmine said. We're a family. We should all help. You help by being exactly who you are, Maya said. By being smart and kind and everything your father would be proud of. That's enough. She pulled both girls into a hug. They were almost as tall as she was now. When had that happened? When had they grown up enough to worry about money and homelessness and adult problems? We'll be okay, Maya whispered into their hair. I promise. We'll figure it out. Jasmine pulled back first. Don't make promises you can't keep, Mom. The words stung because they were fair. Maya had no idea how she was going to keep that promise. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Maya considered letting it go to voicemail, but answered anyway. Maybe it was Marcus's wife from Jefferson Hospital. Ms. Thompson. A woman's voice, professional, clipped. Yes. This is Patricia Monroe from Roosevelt Medical HR. I'm calling to confirm that your COBRA insurance continuation paperwork will be mailed within 30 days. You have 60 days from your termination date to elect continuation of coverage. The monthly premium will be $1,247. Do you have any questions? Maya hung up without responding. $1,200 a month for insurance. She couldn't afford groceries. How was she supposed to afford insurance that cost more than her rent? Who was that? Jade asked. Nobody important. Maya's hands were shaking again. She shoved them in her hoodie pocket so the girls wouldn't see. She needed to be strong for them. She needed to pretend she had a plan. Her phone buzzed with a text from Janet Morris Maya. I'm so sorry about today. If you need a reference, I'll do what I can. I feel terrible. Too little too late. And a reference from someone who'd stood by and watched her get fired wasn't worth much anyway. But Maya texted back. Thanks. What else was there to say? I'm going to make dinner, Maya announced, standing up. She needed to do something normal, something that felt like she still had control over her life. Spaghetti, okay? The girls nodded, but nobody was really thinking about dinner. Maya went to the kitchen and pulled out a pot, filled it with water, set it on the stove. The mechanics of cooking were soothing, mindless. While the water heated, she checked her phone again. No new messages, no job offers, no miracles, just the bank account balance mocking her $4,700. She opened the cabinet and pulled out the box of spaghetti noodles. There was enough for tonight, and maybe tomorrow. After that, she'd have to buy more, which meant spending money she didn't have on food instead of rent or electricity or any of the other bills piling up. The jar of sauce in the fridge was half full. She could stretch it by adding water. It would be thin, but it would still be sauce. This was her life now. Watering down spaghetti sauce and counting dollars, and wondering how the hell she was going to keep her daughters fed and housed and safe. 23 years of nursing. 23 years of saving lives and working double shifts and sacrificing time with her family. And this was what it got her. A cardboard box of wet belongings and $47 and a future that looked like the bottom of a puddle in a Philadelphia rainstorm. The water started to boil. Maya added the noodles, stirred mechanically, watched steam rise and disappear into the cold air of the kitchen. Through the window she could see the street below, people walking with umbrellas, Cars splashing through puddles. A helicopter flew overhead, low and loud. Military, maybe. Or medical. She'd heard them a lot lately. Something about increased security because of the vice president's visit. Life continuing as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Dr. Richard Castellano had seen to that. Her phone buzzed again. Another text, this time from an unknown number. "This is Mrs. Washington, Jamal's mother. I got your number from the hospital directory before they deleted you. What they did to you is wrong. I'm filing a complaint. I'm calling the news. I'm not letting this stand." Maya stared at the text. Part of her wanted to tell Mrs. Washington not to bother, that making noise would only make things worse, that Castellano had the power and the money and the connections to bury any complaint. But another part of her, a small, angry part that hadn't been completely crushed yet, wanted to see him sweat. She texted back, "Thank you." The noodles were done. Maya drained them, added the watered-down sauce, and divided everything into 3 bowls. She called the girls for dinner. They ate in silence at their small kitchen table. The only sound was forks scraping against bowls and the rain still drumming against the window. Jasmine finished first. "Mom, I have a math test on Monday." "You'll do great. You always do. And there's a field trip next month, to the Science Museum. It costs $30. Maya's stomach clenched. $30. Such a small amount. Such an impossible amount. "We'll figure it out," she said. Jasmine nodded but didn't look convinced. After dinner, Maya cleaned up, while the girls retreated to their room. She washed the bowls by hand because the dishwasher had been broken for 6 months. She wiped down the counter. She took out the trash. Normal things, routine things. Things that made her feel like maybe she hadn't completely lost control. Her phone rang again. This time it was a number she recognized. Her landlord. "Miss Thompson, this is Gerald Fisher. I'm calling about next week's rent." "I know it's due on the 5th, Mr. Fisher. I'll have it." "I certainly hope so. I've been lenient about late payments in the past, but I can't continue to make exceptions. If rent isn't paid on time next week, I'll have to begin eviction proceedings." "I understand. I hope you do. I have expenses too. This building doesn't maintain itself." He hung up, without saying goodbye. Maya set her phone down and gripped the edge of the counter. Her knuckles went white. Eviction proceedings. The words echoed in her head. She'd never been late on rent in her life. Not once. She'd always been responsible. Always paid her bills on time. Always done everything right. And now she was 1 week away from homelessness. She heard a knock on the door. Maya froze. Was it the landlord again? Had he come in person to threaten her? She opened the door cautiously. It was Mrs. Patterson from next door. Sweet, elderly woman who always asked about the girls. "Maya, dear, I saw you come home earlier. You looked upset. Is everything all right?" "I'm fine, Mrs. Patterson. Just a long day." "Are you sure you know you can talk to me if you need anything?" "I appreciate that, really." Mrs. Patterson didn't look convinced, but she nodded. "Well, I made too much pot roast. Would you and the girls like some? I hate to see it go to waste." Maya's eyes burned with unexpected tears. Pot roast, Mrs. Patterson was offering her food, because somehow, despite Maya's best efforts to hide it, people could see she was drowning. "That's very kind," Maya managed, "but we just ate." "Then take it for tomorrow, please. I insist." Mrs. Patterson handed her a covered dish before Maya could protest further. The dish was warm. It smelled like comfort, like the dinners Maya's mother used to make before she got sick. "Thank you," Maya whispered. "We take care of each other, Mrs." Patterson said simply. "That's what neighbors do." She patted Maya's hand and shuffled back to her own apartment. Maya closed the door and set the pot roast on the counter. She lifted the lid. Beef potatoes, carrots, gravy. Enough for 3 or 4 meals if she stretched it. Mrs. Patterson knew. She knew Maya was struggling. And instead of judging, instead of gossiping, she'd brought food. Maya sat down at the kitchen table and put her head in her hands. She was so tired, so completely, utterly exhausted. Not just physically, emotionally, spiritually. Every part of her felt used up. Her phone buzzed one more time. Text from a number she didn't recognize. Ms. Thompson, this is Dr. Hartford from Jefferson Hospital. Marcus Washington gave me your contact information. We have an opening for an experienced trauma nurse. The position starts immediately. Are you interested? Maya stared at the text. A job. An actual job offer. From Jefferson Hospital, one of the best in the city. She texted back with shaking hands. Yes, very interested. When can we meet? The response came quickly. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Can you make it? Maya wanted to cry. Tomorrow. She could have a job by tomorrow. She could stop the bleeding. She could keep her apartment. She could feed her daughters. She texted, I'll be there. Thank you. She set her phone down and exhaled slowly. Maybe the woman on the bus had been right. Maybe something better was coming. But as Maya sat alone in her cold kitchen with $47 to her name and pot roast from a kind neighbor and a job interview that might save her life, she couldn't shake the feeling that she'd lost something fundamental. She'd spent 23 years believing that doing the right thing mattered. That saving lives was more important than paperwork. That being a nurse meant something. Castellano had taken that from her. He'd shown her that none of it mattered. That the system would always protect itself. That money and power would always win. And even if she got the job at Jefferson, even if she survived this, she would never forget the look on his face when he fired her. The smile. Like destroying her life was just another administrative task on his to-do list. Maya stood up and walked to the window. The rain had finally stopped. The street was dark and wet. Streetlights reflected in puddles like fallen stars. Somewhere in this city, Castellano was probably having dinner. Expensive wine. Good food. Not thinking about her at all. Somewhere in this city, Jamal Washington was home with his mother alive because Maya had refused to follow protocol. And somewhere in this city, the vice president's grandson was fighting for his life. Maya didn't know it yet, but in less than 18 hours, 2 military helicopters would land in the middle of Market Street looking for her. In less than 18 hours, everything would change again. But tonight she was just a fired nurse with $47 and a job interview and a pot roast from a kind neighbor. Tonight she went to bed early, too tired to stay awake, too worried to really sleep. Tomorrow would come soon enough, and with it, the helicopters. Maya woke up at 5:30 the next morning to the sound of her phone vibrating on the nightstand. She'd barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Castellano's smile, heard the trash can lid closing over her badge, felt the weight of that cardboard box disintegrating in the rain. She grabbed the phone. Text from Dr. Hartford at Jefferson Hospital interview still on for 9 a.m. Bring credentials and 2 references. Looking forward to meeting you. References. Maya's stomach dropped. Who was going to give her a reference? Janet, who'd stood there silent while Maya got fired. Marcus, a security guard with no medical authority. Her former colleagues who wouldn't even make eye contact during her walk of shame. She typed back, I'll be there. Thank you for the opportunity. The apartment was cold. The heat had clicked off sometime during the night because she'd turned the thermostat down to save money. Maya pulled on Thomas's old hoodie and padded to the kitchen in bare feet. The linoleum was like ice. Mrs. Patterson's pot roast sat on the counter. Maya opened the container. The smell made her stomach growl. She hadn't eaten dinner. Couldn't stomach food after telling the girls they might lose everything. She took one bite, standing at the counter, then another. The meat was tender. The gravy was rich. It tasted like kindness, like someone giving a damn when the whole world had turned its back. Maya heard a door open. Jasmine emerged from the bedroom already dressed. Jeans and a Roosevelt high sweatshirt. Her hair was pulled back tight. "You're up early," Maya said. "Couldn't sleep." Jasmine went to the fridge, pulled out the orange juice, drank straight from the carton. "Use a glass." "What's the point? We're going to lose the apartment anyway." The words hit like a slap. Maya set down the pot roast container. "Jasmine, it's true, isn't it?" Jasmine's voice was flat. Not angry, just tired. "Rent is due in 4 days. You have $47. Even if you get the Jefferson job, you won't get paid in time. I'll figure something out." "How?" Maya didn't have an answer. Jasmine took another swig of juice and put the carton back. "I applied at McDonald's last night," Jasmine said. "Online application. They're hiring immediately. I put that I'm 16. They won't check." "You're 14. "I look 16. And we need money." "No." Maya's voice was firm. "Absolutely not. You are not dropping out of school to work fast food because your mother lost her job." "I'm not dropping out. I'll work nights and weekends." "You'll burn out in a month. Your grades will tank. You'll lose your scholarship opportunities." "What scholarship opportunities?" Jasmine shot back. "We can't afford college application fees. We can't afford SAT prep courses. We can't afford anything, Mom. So what difference does it make?" Maya wanted to argue, wanted to tell her daughter that everything would be fine, that college was still possible, that dreams didn't die just because money ran out. But the lie stuck in her throat. "Just let me help," Jasmine said quietly. "Please, I can't just sit here and watch everything fall apart." "Your job is to be 14, Maya said. "My job is to fix this. That's how it works." "That's how it worked when Dad was alive," Jasmine corrected. "Now it's just you. And you can't do everything alone." The truth of it settled between them like a third person in the room. Thomas had been the buffer, the financial planner, the one who'd figured out how to make ends meet when Maya's nursing salary wasn't quite enough. Without him, they'd been barely treading water. Now they were drowning. Maya's phone buzzed. Another text this time, from an unknown number. "This is Patricia Rodriguez from Roosevelt ER. I'm so sorry about what happened. Castellano is a bastard. If you need anything, call me. Too little too late." Where was Patricia yesterday when Maya was being escorted out? Where was her voice when it mattered? Maya deleted the text without responding. "I have a job interview at 9, she told Jasmine. "Jefferson Hospital. If I get it, I start Monday. That's 4 days. I'll ask for an advance. I'll explain the situation. And if they say no, they won't. But if they do..." Maya looked at her daughter. Jasmine had Thomas's eyes, dark brown, almost black. Eyes that saw through bullshit and demanded truth. "Then we'll deal with it," Maya said. "But right now I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" Jasmine nodded slowly. "Okay. But Mom, yeah, if the McDonald's thing calls me back, I'm taking it, even if you say no." Before Maya could respond, Jade stumbled out of the bedroom, rubbing her eyes. "Why are you guys fighting?" "We're not fighting," Maya said automatically. "You're doing that thing where you whisper yell," Jade said. "I can hear it through the wall." She looked at the pot roast container on the counter. "Is that breakfast?" "Mrs. Patterson brought it last night." "Can I have some after cereal? We need to make it last." And Jade poured herself a bowl of generic cornflakes with milk that was 2 days from expiring. She ate standing up, scrolling through her phone. "There's a thing on the news," Jade said through a mouthful of cereal. "About the vice president's grandson. He's in critical condition." Maya remembered the alert from yesterday. The 7-year-old boy injured at a campaign event. "That's awful," she said. "They're saying it's really bad, like he might not make it." Jade kept scrolling. "It says here he has a crushed airway from a fall. They can't intubate him. Something cold slithered down Maya's spine. Crushed airway, pediatric patient. Can't intubate. She knew that scenario. She'd trained for it. She'd done it 3 times in her career, including once in a hospital parking lot when a kid went into anaphylaxis and his throat swelled shut. The Secret Service medical team is trying, Jade continued, but they might need to fly him to Walter Reed in D.C. Where is he now? Maya asked. Doesn't say. Just says Philadelphia. Maya's mind was already running through the procedure. Pediatric cricothyrotomy. High risk? Tiny anatomical landmarks. One wrong cut, and you sever the carotid artery. But if done right, it could save the kid's life. She wondered who they'd called. Which surgeon? Which trauma team? Roosevelt had 3 doctors qualified for that procedure. Jefferson had 2. Penn had 5. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Maya answered. Ms. Thompson, a woman's voice, professional, urgent, speaking. This is Sergeant Rachel Diaz, United States Army Special Operations. Are you the trauma nurse formerly employed at Roosevelt Medical Center? Maya's heart stopped. Yes. Why, ma'am, I need to verify your credentials. You're listed in the National Registry as having advanced pediatric airway certification, correct? Yes, but I don't understand. And you've performed emergency surgical airways on pediatric patients. 3 times. Sergeant, what is this about? Hold, please. The line went silent. Not dead, just muted. Maya could hear faint background noise. Voices. The distinctive sound of helicopter rotors. Jasmine and Jade were both staring at her now. Who is it? Jasmine asked. Maya held up a finger. Wait. The line clicked back on. A man's voice this time. Deep, authoritative. Ms. Thompson, this is Colonel James Hartford, United States Air Force Medical Corps. We have a critical pediatric patient with traumatic airway obstruction. We need someone who can perform a blind cricothyrotomy on a 7-year-old. 3 attending surgeons have named you as the best in the region. Are you available? Maya's mind reeled. I was fired yesterday. I don't have hospital privileges. We're not asking about privileges. We're asking about capability. Can you do this procedure? Yes, but what's your current location? My apartment, 23rd and Walnut. Stand by. The line went dead. Maya stood in her kitchen holding her phone, trying to process what had just happened. The military was calling her about a pediatric airway emergency in Philadelphia. Mom? Jade's voice was small. What's happening? I don't know. The phone rang again. Same unknown number. Ms. Thompson, this is Sergeant Diaz again. We need you to go to the nearest open intersection immediately. We're extracting you by helicopter. ETA 6 minutes. What no? I have a job interview at 9. Ma'am, the Vice President's grandson is dying. We need you now. Everything stopped. The Vice President's grandson. The boy from the news. The crushed airway. I need to change clothes, Maya said. I need to get my... No time. Go to the intersection now. Wear whatever you're wearing. We're landing in 5 minutes. But I don't have my credentials. I don't have my... We have your records. Just go. The line went dead again. Maya looked down at herself. Thomas's oversized hoodie, sweatpants, bare feet. I need shoes, she said to no one in particular. Jasmine was already moving. She ran to the bedroom and came back with Maya's sneakers, the same ones that had gotten soaked in yesterday's rain. They were still damp. Put these on, Jasmine ordered. Maya shoved her feet into the wet shoes. Her hands were shaking. Mom, what's happening? Jade asked again. The military needs me. For an emergency. The Vice President's grandson. Yes. But you were fired. Apparently they don't care. Maya grabbed her phone and her keys, started for the door, stopped. "If I'm not back by tonight," she said to Jasmine, "call Mrs. Patterson. Stay with her." "You're coming back though, right?" "I don't know." She ran. The stairwell was dark. Maya took the steps 2 at a time, nearly tripping on the second floor landing. She burst through the building's front door into cold October morning air. The sun was barely up. The street was quiet. A few early commuters heading to work. A delivery truck double-parked outside the bodega. Maya ran to the intersection of 23rd and Walnut. She stood in the middle of the crosswalk, breathing hard, looking at the sky. Nothing. A man walking his dog gave her a strange look. "You okay, lady?" "I'm waiting for a helicopter." "Sure you are." He kept walking. Maya checked her phone. No new calls. No texts. Had she imagined the whole thing? Was this some kind of stress-induced hallucination? Then she heard it. Faint at first, then growing louder. The distinctive thwop, thwop, thwop of helicopter blades cutting through air. The delivery truck driver looked up. "What the hell?" 2 Black Hawk helicopters appeared over the buildings, flying low and fast. They weren't following normal air traffic patterns. They were making a direct line for Maya's intersection. People on the sidewalk stopped. Pointed. Someone screamed. The lead helicopter began to descend. Right into the middle of the intersection, right where Maya was standing. She didn't move. The downdraft hit her like a physical force. Wind whipped her hair. Debris flew. Car alarms started blaring. But Maya stood firm, watching the helicopter settle onto the asphalt with military precision. The second helicopter stayed airborne, circling protectively. Before the first helicopter had fully landed, the side door slid open. A woman in tactical gear jumped out. She had sergeant stripes on her shoulder, rifle strapped to her chest. She was running toward Maya before her boots hit the ground. "Maya Thompson," she shouted over the rotor noise. Maya nodded. "I'm Sergeant Diaz. We spoke on the phone. Come with me now." Diaz grabbed Maya's arm and pulled her toward the helicopter. Maya's wet sneakers slipped on the pavement. Diaz caught her, steadied her, kept moving. "Wait," Maya shouted. "My daughters, they're upstairs. They don't know. We'll notify them." "Get in the bird." They reached the helicopter. Another soldier, a man built like a linebacker, grabbed Maya around the waist and literally threw her into the back of the aircraft. She landed on the diamond plate floor, scrambling for purchase. Diaz jumped in behind her. The door slammed shut. "Go!" Diaz screamed into her headset. "We have the asset. Go, go, go!" The helicopter surged upward. Maya's stomach dropped. She grabbed for something to hold on to, found a nylon strap bolted to the wall, held on with both hands. Diaz shoved a headset over Maya's ears. The rotor noise dampened to a manageable roar. "Can you hear me?" Diaz's voice came through crystal clear. "Yes." "Good. Strap in." Diaz pulled a harness around Maya's chest and clicked it into place. The helicopter banked hard right. Through the window, Maya saw her apartment building falling away. Saw Jasmine and Jade on the fire escape staring up at the sky. Saw the crowd gathering in the street below. "My daughters," Maya said. "They're scared. They don't understand." "We have people notifying them right now," Diaz said. "Focus on the mission. We need you sharp." "What's the patient's status?" "Critical. Oxygen saturation dropping. Heart rate elevated. The Secret Service medical team can't visualize the airway. Too much blood and swelling." "How long ago was the injury?" 14 hours. Maya's blood ran cold. 14 hours. Why wasn't this handled last night? They tried. Multiple attempts at intubation. All failed. Made the swelling worse. We need a surgical airway, but the Secret Service doctor is hesitant. He's never done one on a pediatric patient. Where's the patient now? Naval Air Station. Secure hangar. Air Force One is on standby to fly him to Walter Reed if we can stabilize him. But ma'am, if we can't get an airway in the next 20 minutes, it won't matter. He'll be brain dead. 20 minutes. Maya looked at her watch. 6:47 a.m. What supplies do you have? Full field surgical kit. We have everything you need. Pediatric equipment? Yes. Who authorized this extraction? The Vice President herself. She asked for you specifically. She doesn't know me. 3 attending surgeons told her you were the best pediatric airway specialist in the region. When we went to Roosevelt, your former employer tried to send someone else. Dr. Castellano insisted he should handle it. Maya felt a flash of rage so pure it made her hands shake. What did you do? I told him to sit down or I'd have my sniper put a laser dot on his chest. Despite everything, Maya almost smiled. Did he sit down like an obedient dog? The helicopter flew over downtown Philadelphia. Through the window, Maya could see the city waking up. People going to work, living normal lives, having no idea that above them a fired nurse in sweatpants and a dead man's hoodie was being extracted by the military to save a child's life. Ma'am, I need to prep you on the situation, Diaz said. The patient's name is Nathan Chen. He's 7 years old. He fell on a playground structure yesterday afternoon during a campaign event. A metal bar caught him in the throat. Blunt force trauma to the trachea. The impact crushed the cricoid cartilage. Maya visualized the anatomy. Pediatric trachea was maybe half an inch wide. Cricoid cartilage was the only complete ring of cartilage in the airway. If it was crushed, the whole structure could collapse. Is he conscious? In and out. They're keeping him sedated to reduce oxygen demand. But ma'am, the sedation is making it harder to breathe. It's a catch-22. If they lighten the sedation, he panics and his oxygen drops. If they keep him deep, his respiratory drive decreases. Who's managing the sedation? Colonel Hartford, Air Force flight surgeon. He's good, but he's out of his depth with pediatrics. I need to see recent vitals. Heart rate, oxygen sat, blood pressure, respiratory rate. Diaz tapped a tablet and handed it to Maya. The screen showed real-time telemetry from the patient. Heart rate 142. Oxygen saturation 74%. Blood pressure 88/52. Respiratory rate 32. All bad numbers. Heart rate was elevated from stress and hypoxia. Oxygen was critically low. Blood pressure was borderline shock. Respiratory rate was too fast, which meant the body was compensating for poor oxygen exchange. How long to the air station? Maya asked. 3 minutes. Maya looked at the numbers again. Did the math. Nathan Chen had been hypoxic for at least an hour, probably longer. Every minute without adequate oxygen meant brain cells dying. By the time Maya got there, got prepped, got the airway in place, it might be too late. Can we go faster? We're already pushing max speed. The pilot's voice came through the headset. Any faster, and we start risking structural integrity. Maya nodded. 3 minutes. She could work with 3 minutes. She closed her eyes and visualized the procedure. Pediatric cricothyrotomy. Find the cricothyroid membrane between the thyroid and cricoid cartilage. Make a horizontal incision. Separate the tissue. Insert the tracheostomy tube. Secure it. Bag the patient. Watch for chest rise. Simple in theory. Terrifying in practice. Ma'am? Diaz's voice pulled her back. Yeah. The Vice President is on site. She's going to want to thank you. I don't need thanks. I need the patient to survive. Copy that. The helicopter began to descend. Through the window, Maya saw the Naval Air Station spread out below. Massive hangars. Aircraft lined up on the tarmac, and there gleaming white in the morning sun, Air Force One. They landed hard. The door slid open before Maya had even unstrapped. Diaz pulled her out. They were running across the tarmac toward an open hangar. Maya's wet sneakers squelched with every step. Thomas's hoodie flapped in the helicopter's downdraft. She must have looked insane. A homeless woman being dragged by armed soldiers toward a billion-dollar aircraft. But none of that mattered. Somewhere in that hangar, a 7-year-old boy was dying, and Maya Thompson, fired nurse with $47 and no future, was the only person who could save him. They burst through the hangar entrance into chaos. Bright halogen lights flooded the hangar. Maya's eyes adjusted as Diaz pulled her toward a makeshift field hospital in the center of the concrete floor. Medical equipment everywhere, monitors beeping frantically, and in the middle of it all, a small gurney with a child lying motionless. A man in Air Force medical fatigues looked up. Gray hair. Sweat pouring down his face despite the cold. He had a laryngoscope in one hand, and the look of someone drowning. "Thank God," he breathed. "Are you Thompson?" Maya was already moving to the bedside. "Yes. You're Hartford. Colonel Hartford, yes. Ma'am, I can't get visualization. There's too much blood, too much swelling. I've tried twice and I'm making it worse." Maya looked at the patient. Nathan Chen was small for 7. Pale skin with a grayish tint. Lips purple. His neck was grotesquely swollen, the size distorting the normal anatomy. Bruising spread from his throat down to his chest. This wasn't just trauma. This was catastrophic injury. "Vitals," Maya demanded. A nurse young woman in army fatigues read from the monitor. O2 sat 71, heart rate 148, BP 84/49. He's bradying down. The heart rate was slowing. That was the body's last desperate attempt to conserve oxygen. Once it hit 60, they'd have maybe 2 minutes before cardiac arrest. Maya stripped off Thomas's hoodie without thinking. Stood there in just a tank top and sweatpants. Someone handed her a pair of gloves. She snapped them on. "How long since the last intubation attempt?" 20 minutes, Hartford said. "I was waiting for you." "Good. Don't try again. You'll tear what's left of the trachea." Maya leaned over Nathan, examining his neck. The swelling was massive. She couldn't see the normal landmarks. Couldn't feel them either. The anatomical structures she needed to locate were buried under trauma. "I need a crick kit. Pediatric. Size 4.0 tube." "Here." A surgical tech slapped the kit into her hand. Maya opened it. Scalpel. Dilator. Tracheostomy tube. Everything she needed. Her hands were steady now. The shaking from earlier was gone. This was the zone. This was where 23 years of experience took over, and her body knew what to do even when her mind wanted to panic. "I need everyone quiet," Maya said. Her voice was calm, authoritative. "No talking, unless I ask a direct question." The room went silent. Even the Secret Service agents standing at the perimeter stopped moving. Maya placed her left hand on Nathan's neck. Pressed gently. The tissue was like a water balloon, fluid everywhere. The normal ridges and valleys of anatomy were gone. "Come on," she whispered. "Talk to me." She pressed deeper. Her fingers searched for something solid, something that would tell her where the cricoid cartilage was. If she cut too high, she'd hit the thyroid gland and blood vessels. Too low, and she'd hit the tracheal rings, which were too fragile in a child this size. There. A subtle hardness under all the swelling. A ridge that didn't compress like the surrounding tissue. "I have it," Maya said. "Are you sure?" Hartford's voice was tight. "Ma'am, if you're not sure..." "I'm sure." Maya picked up the scalpel. "Suction ready?" "Ready," the tech said. Maya looked at the monitor one more time. Oxygen sat 69. Heart rate 142. Still dropping. "God help me," she murmured. She made the incision. Horizontal, about an inch long. Blood welled immediately. Dark venous blood. Lots of it. Suction. The tech moved in with the suction catheter, cleared the field. Maya could see deeper now. Muscle, fascia, the white flash of cartilage. "I see the membrane," she said, switching to blunt dissection. She used the back of the scalpel handle to separate tissue. The cricothyroid membrane should be right here, a small band of connective tissue between cartilage rings. In an adult, it was easy to find. In a 7-year-old with a crushed airway, it was like searching for a specific grain of sand on a beach. Her finger touched something, a gap, a space where there should be solid structure. "He has a complete transection," Maya said. "The trachea is severed." Hartford swore under his breath. "Can you still get a tube in?" "I don't know, but I'm going to try." Maya picked up the pediatric trach tube, size 4.0, barely bigger than a drinking straw. She guided it toward the opening she'd created. Resistance. The tube wouldn't advance. "Come on," Maya growled. She twisted slightly, applied steady pressure. The tube had to go in. Had to. "No chest rise," the nurse said. "You're not in the airway." "I know that," Maya snapped. She pulled the tube back slightly. Redirected. Tried again. Still nothing. O2 sat 64, the nurse reported. Heart rate 131. The numbers were spiraling. Nathan was minutes from death. Maya closed her eyes. Blocked out everything. The monitors. The watchers. The knowledge that the vice president's grandson was dying under her hands. She focused on the feel of the tissue, the resistance of the tube, the subtle feedback that told her where she was in the anatomy. She twisted the tube 90 degrees. Pushed. The resistance gave way. The tube slid home. "I'm in," Maya said. "Bag him." The respiratory tech attached the ambu bag to the tube and squeezed. Nothing happened. No breath sounds. Hartford said, stethoscope pressed to Nathan's chest. "The tube's not in the airway." "It is," Maya insisted. "There's a mucus plug. The trauma caused a blockage." She grabbed a suction catheter, threaded it down the trach tube, applied negative pressure. Pulled back. A thick clot of blood and mucus came up. Dark. Gelatinous. The kind of plug that formed when tissue was destroyed and the body tried desperately to wall off the damage. "Bag again." The tech squeezed. Nathan's chest rose, a beautiful symmetrical rise. "Breath sounds bilateral," Hartford shouted. "We have air movement." Maya looked at the monitor. The oxygen saturation number was still at 64. Then 65. Then 68. Climbing? 72. 78. 85. Nathan's gray skin began to pink up. His lips lost their purple tint. The monitor's alarm stopped screaming. 90, 94, 98. "We're at 98%, the nurse said. Her voice cracked with relief. Maya stepped back. Her legs felt weak. She'd been so focused on the procedure that she hadn't noticed she was holding her breath. She exhaled slowly. "Secure the tube," she told the tech. "Keep him sedated. Minimal handling. We need to keep oxygen demand low until you can get him to a surgical suite for formal reconstruction." "Yes, ma'am." Hartford was staring at her. "That was the finest surgical airway I've ever witnessed, and I've been doing this for 25 years. Maya pulled off her gloves. Her hands were shaking again now that the adrenaline was fading. "How long until you can get him to Walter Reed?" "Air Force One is fueled and ready. 30 minutes. "Make it 20. The tube is secure, but that airway is unstable. He needs a pediatric ENT surgeon as soon as possible. Understood. Maya looked at Nathan. His color was good now. Oxygen sat holding at 98%, heart rate coming down to a normal range. He was going to make it, not because of the Secret Service medical team, or the Air Force doctors, or anyone else, because a fired nurse in sweatpants had refused to let him die. Someone cleared their throat behind her. Maya turned. A woman stood at the edge of the medical area, early 50s. Dark hair, expensive suit, eyes red from crying. Maya recognized her immediately from television. Vice President Jennifer Chen. The Secret Service agents moved to intercept Maya, but Chen waved them off. Let her through. Maya walked toward the vice president on unsteady legs. She was suddenly very aware that she was in a tank top and sweatpants, that she hadn't showered, that she probably smelled like fear and old coffee. Ms. Thompson, Chen said. Her voice was hoarse. Ma'am, you saved my grandson's life. Maya didn't know what to say. I did my job. Your job, Chen's expression hardened. I was told you were fired yesterday for saving another child's life. Yes, ma'am. Tell me what happened. So Maya did. Standing there in a military hangar with blood on her hands and a 7-year-old breathing behind her, Maya told the Vice President of the United States about Jamal Washington, about Dr. Castellano's phone call to insurance, about the choice she'd made, about the termination. Chen listened without interrupting. When Maya finished, the Vice President pulled out her phone. Get me the Director of Health and Human Services, she said to someone. And get me the Pennsylvania governor, and find out who sits on the board of directors for Roosevelt Medical Center. She hung up and looked at Maya. Dr. Castellano tried to board the helicopter when we went to get you. So I heard. He insisted he was the appropriate medical authority, that you were unstable, that we were making a mistake. Chen's voice was ice. My security detail had to physically remove him from the helipad. Despite everything, Maya felt a small surge of satisfaction. Castellano on his knees being told no for probably the first time in his entitled life. Ma'am, I don't want to cause trouble, Maya said. I just want to work. I have a job interview at Jefferson Hospital at 9. If I could get a ride back to the city. You're not going to Jefferson, Chen interrupted. Maya's stomach dropped. Had she done something wrong? Was this going to somehow get worse? I'm offering you a position with the White House Medical Unit, Chen continued. Director of Emergency Medical Operations. You'd oversee trauma response for the President, Vice President, and our families. Salary is $240,000 a year, full federal benefits, security clearance, and most importantly, you'd never have to worry about some administrator overruling your medical judgment again. $240,000. Maya's current salary was $68,000. She'd been scraping by on that for 3 years. With that kind of money, she could pay off her debts, save for the girls' college, buy a car that actually ran. She could be safe. That's extremely generous, Maya said slowly. But I need to think about it. Chen looked surprised. Most people don't need to think about a $250,000 job offer. My daughters are in Philadelphia. Their school, their friends, their whole lives. And frankly, ma'am, if I take this job and disappear into the White House, nothing changes at Roosevelt. Castellano stays in power. Nurses keep getting punished for putting patients first. The system that fired me continues unchanged. So what do you want? Maya thought about it. What did she want? Yesterday, she wanted her job back, her badge, her 23 years of service restored. But standing here having just saved the Vice President's grandson, she realized she wanted something more. I want to go back to Roosevelt, Maya said. I want my job back, and I want Castellano gone. Not just transferred, not just demoted. Gone. Investigated. Held accountable. Chen smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of a woman who'd spent her career in politics and knew exactly how to destroy someone. "I think that can be arranged," she said. 3 hours later, Maya was back in Philadelphia. Not in sweatpants this time. The White House medical staff had found her a clean set of scrubs and a jacket. Someone had even given her coffee and a bagel. She'd eaten it in the helicopter on the way back, watching the landscape roll by beneath her. Sergeant Diaz dropped her off 6 blocks from Roosevelt Medical Center. "Why not at the hospital?" Maya asked. "Because the vice president is about to hold a press conference in the main lobby," Diaz said, "and you need to make an entrance." "I don't understand." Diaz grinned. "You will. Trust me." Maya walked the 6 blocks. It was almost noon. The sun was out. The rain from yesterday felt like another lifetime. People rushed past her on the sidewalk, checking phones, drinking coffee, living their ordinary lives. As she got closer to Roosevelt, she noticed something strange. News vans, lots of them, parked along the street with satellite dishes raised, reporters doing stand-ups with the hospital entrance in the background. What the hell? Maya approached the main entrance. A massive crowd had gathered. Hospital staff, press, curious onlookers. And right in the middle of it all, she saw Dr. Richard Castellano standing at a podium. He was holding a press conference. Maya pushed through the crowd. No one noticed her. All eyes were on Castellano. "I want to address the viral video from yesterday," Castellano was saying. His voice had that smooth, practiced quality. The voice of someone used to being believed. The video showing a military helicopter extracting a woman from the streets of Philadelphia. That woman was Maya Thompson, a former employee of this hospital. Former employee. Maya's hands clenched into fists. "Ms. Thompson was terminated yesterday for concerning behavior," Castellano continued. "While I cannot go into specifics due to privacy laws, I can say that her actions endangered patient safety. She was in a state of emotional disability following a disciplinary incident. We believe the military acted on outdated information when they extracted her." Liar. He was a goddamn liar. "The child in question, Jamal Washington, is recovering well, thanks to the proper protocols followed by our medical team," Castellano said. "Ms. Thompson's intervention, while dramatic, was ultimately unnecessary and potentially harmful. We pray she gets the professional help she needs." Maya couldn't stay quiet anymore. She pushed to the front of the crowd. "That's bullshit," she called out. Every head turned. Cameras swiveled. Castellano's face went white. "Ms. Thompson," he said, "this is not the appropriate— Jamal Washington would be dead if I'd waited for you to finish your insurance call," Maya said loudly. She was aware of the cameras, aware of the microphones, aware that every word was being broadcast. But she didn't care anymore. 8 minutes. That's how long you were on the phone while a 6-year-old boy suffocated. I saved his life. And you fired me for it." "You violated protocol," Castellano shot back. "You created a hostile work environment." "I created a living patient. You want to talk about what happened yesterday? Let's talk about it. In front of everyone." A reporter jumped in. "Dr. Castellano, is it true you were removed from a military helicopter at gunpoint?" Castellano's jaw worked. "That's a gross mischaracterization. Is it true you tried to board the helicopter instead of Ms. Thompson?" "I offered my services as chief of surgery." "Where's the nurse now?" another reporter shouted. "Can we speak to her?" "Ms. Thompson is not authorized to speak on behalf of this hospital," Castellano said. "I'm standing right here," Maya called out. "I can speak for myself." The reporters surged toward her, microphones thrust in her face, questions overlapping. "Did you save the vice president's grandson? Is it true you were fired for saving a patient? What happened in that helicopter?" Before Maya could answer a commotion at the edge of the crowd, Secret Service agents pushing through, creating a corridor. And then Vice President Jennifer Chen walked into the lobby of Roosevelt Medical Center like she owned the place. The crowd went silent. Castellano looked like he'd seen a ghost. Chen walked straight to the podium. Castellano stumbled back. She adjusted the microphone. "Good afternoon," Chen said. Her voice carried authority that Castellano could never fake. "I'm here to correct some misinformation that Dr. Castellano has been spreading." She turned to look directly at him. 3 hours ago, Maya Thompson performed a life-saving surgical procedure on my grandson. The Secret Service medical team couldn't stabilize him. The Air Force flight surgeon was afraid to attempt the procedure. But Ms. Thompson, who'd been fired less than 24 hours earlier, didn't hesitate. Chen's voice grew harder. "Dr. Castellano told you that Ms. Thompson is unstable, that she endangered patients. That's a lie. The truth is, Ms. Thompson was fired because she saved a child's life without waiting for insurance authorization. She made Dr. Castellano look incompetent, so he destroyed her career." A reporter shouted a question, but Chen ignored it. "While I was flying here, I had the Department of Health and Human Services look into Roosevelt Medical Center's practices under Dr. Castellano's leadership. We found discrepancies, significant ones: billing fraud, insurance manipulation, a pattern of putting profit over patients." Castellano's face had gone from white to red. "That's absurd! I demand to see this supposed evidence." "You'll see it," Chen interrupted. "In court. Federal prosecutors will be filing charges within the week." She turned to the cameras. "I also spoke with the chairman of this hospital's board of directors. As of 10 minutes ago, Dr. Castellano has been terminated, effective immediately. His medical privileges are revoked pending investigation." The crowd erupted, reporters screaming questions, hospital staff gasping, Castellano standing at the podium looking like his world had just imploded. Because it had. Chen walked over to Maya, put a hand on her shoulder. "The board would like to offer you your position back," Chen said. "With a promotion, Director of Nursing Operations, salary increase, full authority over nursing protocols, and Dr. Castellano will never work in this city again." Maya looked past Chen at Castellano. He was being escorted away by hospital security. The same security guards who'd walked her out yesterday. Marcus Washington was there, and he was smiling. Marcus handed Castellano a cardboard box. "For your personal items, sir," Marcus said. "I think you know the way out." The poetic justice was almost too perfect, but Maya found herself shaking her head. "I appreciate the offer, ma'am," she said to Chen, "but I don't want my old job back." Chen looked surprised. "What do you want?" "I want to start something new, a patient advocacy center. A place where nurses and doctors can report unsafe practices without fear of retaliation. Training programs for emergency procedures. A voice for healthcare workers who are told to shut up and follow orders." Maya looked at the crowd of hospital staff watching, nurses who'd been too afraid to speak up for her, young medical students who were learning that the system protected administrators over patients. "I want to change the culture," Maya said. "Not just at Roosevelt, everywhere." Chen nodded slowly. "That's ambitious." "I've got nothing to lose." "Actually," Chen said, "I think you just gained quite a lot." She gestured to the crowd, to the cameras, to the reporters. "You have a platform now. Use it." So Maya did. She stepped up to the podium where Castellano had just stood. The microphones were still hot. The cameras were still rolling. "My name is Maya Thompson," she said. 23 years ago, I became a nurse because I wanted to help people. Yesterday, I was fired for doing exactly that. Today, I saved the vice president's grandson. But none of that makes me special. Every single day, nurses and doctors across this country make impossible choices. Do we follow protocol or save lives? Do we protect our careers or protect our patients? She looked directly into the cameras. I chose the patient. I'll always choose the patient. And if you're a healthcare worker who's been punished for doing the right thing, I want you to know you're not alone. We're going to fight back. We're going to change this system, because saving lives should never be a fireable offense. The applause started with the nurses, then the medical students, then the reporters, then everyone. A standing ovation in the lobby of Roosevelt Medical Center for a woman who'd been walked out in disgrace 24 hours earlier. Maya stepped back from the podium. Her legs felt weak again. Chen steadied her. "You did good," Chen said quietly. "I just want to go home," Maya admitted. "I need to see my daughters. They must be terrified." "Already arranged. My detail will drive you." 20 minutes later, Maya was climbing the stairs to her apartment. Her whole body ached. Exhaustion was settling into her bones. She'd been running on adrenaline for hours and it was finally wearing off. She unlocked the door. Jasmine and Jade were sitting on the couch. Both of them jumped up when Maya walked in. "Mom!" Jade rushed forward and hugged her. "We saw you on TV. We saw everything. You saved the vice president's grandson." "The military came here," Jasmine added. She looked shaken. "They told us you were fine, but we didn't know if we'd see you again." Maya pulled both girls into a hug. "I'm here. I'm okay. Everything's okay." "Did you really tell off Dr. Castellano on live television?" Jade asked. "I did." "That was so cool." Maya laughed. Actually laughed. After everything, she still had that. Her daughters, her home, her integrity. Her phone buzzed. Text from Janet Morris. "Maya, I saw what happened. I should have stood up for you yesterday. I'm sorry. If you're starting this advocacy center, I want to help." Another text from Patricia Rodriguez. "Count me in too. It's time someone fought back." Another from Jessica Chen. "Whatever you need, I'm there." One by one, messages came in. Nurses from Roosevelt, nurses from Jefferson, nurses from hospitals across the city, all of them offering to help, to join the fight. Maya looked at her daughters. "How do you feel about your mom becoming a revolutionary?" Jasmine smiled. Thomas's smile. "I think Dad would be proud." "Yeah," Jade agreed. "He always said you were stubborn enough to change the world." "Stubborn?" Maya considered the word. "I can live with stubborn." Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Ms. Thompson." A man's voice, familiar, but she couldn't place it. Speaking. "This is Jamal Washington's father. I just saw the news. My wife and I want to thank you, not just for saving our son, but for what you did today, for fighting back." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "How is Jamal? He's perfect, thanks to you." A pause. "We're filing a formal complaint against Dr. Castellano, supporting the federal investigation. Whatever you need from us, you have it." "Thank you," Maya whispered. She hung up and sat down on the couch between her daughters. The apartment was small and cold, and the furniture was old, and the electricity bill was still late. But none of that seemed to matter anymore. 24 hours ago, she'd lost everything. Now she was about to change healthcare in America. Not bad for a fired nurse with $47. Maya's phone wouldn't stop ringing. All afternoon. All evening. News outlets, medical journals, a producer from Good Morning America, a book agent from New York. Everyone wanted her story. Everyone wanted a piece of what had happened. She ignored most of them, sent them to voicemail. She wasn't ready to be a celebrity. She just wanted to figure out what came next. The next morning, Maya woke up to find her face on the front page of the Philadelphia Inquirer. The headline read, "Fired Nurse Saves VP's Grandson, exposes hospital corruption. The photo showed her at the press conference, standing next to Vice President Chen, looking exhausted and defiant. Jasmine was already awake, reading the article on her phone at the kitchen table. "You're famous," she said when Maya emerged from the bedroom. "I'm tired." "There's a GoFundMe for you. Someone started it last night. It's already at $80,000. Maya sat down heavily. "What?" Jasmine turned her phone around. Sure enough, there was a crowdfunding page with Maya's photo. The description read, "Help Maya Thompson. Fight for healthcare workers everywhere." Below it, thousands of donations. $5, $20, $100. People from all over the country sending money to a nurse they'd never met. "I didn't ask for this," Maya said. "I know, but people want to help." Jasmine paused. "Mom, have you checked your email?" "No. Why?" "You should." Maya opened her laptop. Her inbox was flooded. Over 300 unread messages. She scrolled through them. Job offers from hospitals in Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles. Speaking invitations. Interview requests. And buried in the middle, an email from someone named Dr. Sarah Chen. Not related to the vice president. Different Chen. Maya opened it. "Ms. Thompson, I'm an emergency medicine physician in Seattle. I saw your press conference. 5 years ago, I was fired from my hospital for reporting a surgeon who came to work intoxicated. I tried to fight back, but I had no support, no platform. I ended up leaving medicine entirely. What you did yesterday gave me hope, gave thousands of us hope. If you're serious about starting an advocacy organization, I want to help. I have connections, resources. And most importantly, I have a list of over 200 healthcare workers who've been retaliated against for putting patients first. We need someone like you to lead us. Please consider it." Maya read the email 3 times. 200 healthcare workers. All fired or punished for doing the right thing. All waiting for someone to fight for them. The weight of it settled on her shoulders. She could walk away. Take one of the hospital jobs. Make good money. Keep her head down. Protect her daughters. Or she could do something that terrified her. "Mom," Jasmine was watching her. "What is it?" "Someone wants me to start an organization for healthcare workers who've been retaliated against." "Are you going to do it?" Maya looked at her daughter. 14 years old, but with Thomas's pragmatism. His ability to cut through emotion and see what needed to be done. "I don't know how," Maya admitted. "I'm a nurse. I don't know anything about running an organization, about fundraising or advocacy or any of it." "So you'll learn." Jasmine said it like it was obvious. "You learned how to put a breathing tube in a kid's throat. You can learn this." "It's different." "It's not." The Jasmine leaned forward. "Dad used to say that the hardest part of anything is deciding to do it. Once you decide, you figure out the how." Thomas had said that. Usually while they were arguing about money or repairs or some other problem that felt insurmountable. He'd been infuriatingly optimistic, annoyingly persistent. Maya missed him so much it physically hurt. "Okay," she said quietly. "I'll do it." She typed a response to Dr. Chen. 3 sentences. "Yes, I'm serious. Yes, I need help. Let's talk." She hit send before she could change her mind. By noon, Maya was on a video call with Dr. Sarah Chen and 3 other people. A lawyer from the ACLU, a labor organizer from the Nurses Union in California, a communications director who'd worked on healthcare reform campaigns. They talked for 2 hours. About structure, about funding, about legal protections. Maya's head spun trying to keep up. These people spoke a language she didn't know. Bylaws, 501c3 status, strategic messaging. "We need a name," the communications director said. She was young, maybe 30, with bright red lipstick and the energy of someone who drank too much coffee. Something that captures what you're doing. Patient first, Maya suggested. Too generic. Healthcare Workers Alliance. Boring. Dr. Chen spoke up. What about the Thompson Initiative named after you? It has weight, recognition. Maya shook her head. No, this isn't about me. This is about every nurse and doctor who's been told to shut up and follow orders. Then call it that, the lawyer said. The First Voice Initiative. Because healthcare workers should have a voice, should be heard first. Everyone went quiet. Maya turned the name over in her mind. The First Voice Initiative. It worked. It felt right. I like it, she said. Good. The communications director was already typing. I'll register the domain, set up social media. We can have a website live by tomorrow. That fast. You're viral right now. We need to capitalize on the momentum before it fades. Maya felt like she was on a runaway train. 24 hours ago, she'd been eating pot roast from a neighbor and wondering how to pay rent. Now she was founding a national advocacy organization. I need to tell you something, Maya said. She looked at each person on the screen. I have $47 in my bank account. I was about to be evicted. I can't fund this. I don't have resources. You have something better, the ACLU lawyer said. You have credibility. You saved the vice president's grandson after being fired for saving another child. Every healthcare worker in America is watching you. That's worth more than money. Plus, the GoFundMe is at $120,000 now, Dr. Chen added. That's operating capital. We can work with that. $120,000. Maya had never seen that much money in her life. The number felt abstract, impossible. What about my daughters? She asked. I can't run an organization and be a single parent. I can't travel and speak and do all this while they're still in school. We'll figure it out, Dr. Chen said. First priority is getting you stabilized, paying your bills, getting you out of crisis mode. Then we build from there. After the call ended, Maya sat at her kitchen table staring at her laptop. The cursor blinked in an empty document. She needed to write something. A mission statement, a message to all those healthcare workers who'd emailed her. But the words wouldn't come. Jade came home from school first. She dropped her backpack by the door and looked at Maya. You okay, Mom? I don't know what I'm doing, Maya admitted. These people want me to start this big organization and I'm just a nurse. I don't know how to change healthcare in America. Jade sat down next to her. Then don't try to change healthcare in America. Just help one person. Then another person. Then another. That's what you always tell us about nursing, right? You can't save everyone, but you can save the patient in front of you. Maya looked at her youngest daughter. When had she gotten so wise? When did you grow up? Maya asked. Probably when you got fired. Jade said it matter-of-factly. We had to grow up fast. The truth of it stung. Maya had wanted to protect them from adult problems, from money stress and job loss, and the ugly reality of a system that punished people for doing good. But she'd failed. They'd been forced to grow up anyway. I'm sorry, Maya said. Don't be. Jade grabbed the laptop and pulled it toward her. Come on, tell me what you want to say. I'll type. You talk. So Maya talked, and Jade typed. And slowly, a message took shape. To every healthcare worker who's been punished for speaking up, to every nurse who's been fired for putting patients before profit, to every doctor who's been silenced for questioning unsafe practices, I see you. I hear you. And I'm going to fight for you. This is just the beginning. Simple. Direct. True. Jade hit post on the First Voice Initiative's new Facebook page, the page that the communications director had built in 2 hours, the page that already had 15,000 followers. Within minutes, the comments started rolling in. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Thank you for doing this. I was fired 3 years ago and thought I was alone. I reported a medication error and lost my job. No one believed me. Thank you for believing us. My hospital threatened to sue me for speaking to the press about unsafe staffing. I need help. Maya read each comment, each story, each cry for help. The scale of it was overwhelming. This wasn't just about her and Castellano. This was systemic. Hospitals across the country were silencing workers, prioritizing profit, punishing anyone who spoke up. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But something made her pick up. Ms. Thompson, this is Marcus Castellano. Maya's blood ran cold. Richard Castellano's brother. She'd met him once at a hospital fundraiser. Older brother. Same arrogance. Same family money. What do you want? To make a deal. His voice was smooth. Practiced. My brother made a mistake. He acted impulsively. But destroying his career doesn't help anyone. We're prepared to offer you a settlement. $2 million. Tax-free. In exchange for a signed statement saying this was all a misunderstanding, that my brother followed proper protocols. $2 million. Enough to never worry about money again. To send both girls to any college they wanted. To live comfortably for the rest of her life. No, Maya said. Silence on the other end. Marcus Castellano wasn't used to being told no. I don't think you understand, he said slowly. $2 million. For one signature. I understand perfectly. You want to buy my silence. You want me to lie and say your brother didn't endanger a child's life. That he didn't fire me for saving that child. That he didn't try to stop me from saving the vice president's grandson. I'm offering you financial security. You're offering me blood money, and the answer is no. My family has significant resources, Ms. Thompson. We have lawyers, connections. We can make your life very difficult. Your family already made my life difficult. Your brother fired me, tried to destroy my reputation, lied about me on national television, so forgive me if I'm not intimidated by more threats. This is a mistake, Marcus said coldly. You're making an enemy of people you can't afford to have as enemies. Then I guess I'll have to live with that. Maya hung up. Her hands were shaking. $2 million. She'd just turned down $2 million. Jasmine had come home during the call. She was standing in the doorway. How much did they offer? She asked quietly. $2 million. Holy shit. Language. Mom, that's college money. That's everything we need. It's also a lie. They want me to say Castellano did nothing wrong, that I was the problem. Jasmine sat down at the table. So we're really doing this fighting people with millions of dollars and fancy lawyers? Looks like it. Dad would say we're idiots. Probably. But he'd also say we're doing the right thing. Maya reached across the table and took her daughter's hand. Are you scared? Terrified, Jasmine admitted. But also kind of proud. Is that weird? No, that's exactly right. That evening, Maya got a call from Vice President Chen. I heard about the settlement offer, Chen said without preamble. Marcus Castellano is a snake. He's going to try to bury you in legal motions, delay the federal investigation, make you so miserable that you wish you'd taken the money. I know. Good. Because I'm about to make sure that doesn't happen. Chen paused. The president and I discussed your situation. We're making you an offer. Not the White House medical unit job. Something different. Maya waited. We want to appoint you as a special healthcare advisor, consulting position. You'd work with HHS to identify and reform policies that allow retaliation against healthcare workers. 6-month appointment. Salary $150,000. It's a federal position, which means you have legal protections. The Castellanos can't touch you. Why are you doing this? Because you saved my grandson. Because you exposed a corrupt system. And because I've spent 20 years in politics watching good people get crushed by powerful families, I'm tired of it. Maya thought about it. A federal appointment, legal protection, a salary that could stabilize her family, and the ability to actually change policies instead of just advocating for change. I accept, she said, but on one condition. What's that? The First Voice initiative continues. I'm not giving that up. I wouldn't expect you to. In fact, having you in both roles makes you stronger. You're an advocate and a government insider. That's powerful. After Chen hung up, Maya sat in the growing darkness of her apartment. The streetlights outside were starting to flicker on. She could hear Jasmine and Jade arguing in their bedroom about whose turn it was to do dishes. Normal sounds. Normal life. Except nothing was normal anymore. 3 days later, Maya stood in a conference room at the Department of Health and Human Services in Washington, D.C. She was wearing a suit borrowed from Dr. Sarah Chen. It didn't fit quite right, but it was professional enough. Around the table sat 12 people: lawyers, policy experts, medical administrators. The director of HHS, a no-nonsense woman named Patricia Okonkwo, sat at the head. Ms. Thompson, Okonkwo said. Welcome. I've read your file. I've read the case files on Dr. Castellano. I've read 200 incident reports from healthcare workers across the country. This is worse than we thought. She slid a folder across the table. Maya opened it. Page after page of documented retaliation. Firings, demotions, license suspensions, all for reporting unsafe practices or questioning physician decisions or putting patients first. We need to move fast, Okonkwo continued, because while we've been reading files, Marcus Castellano has been busy. He's hired Senator James Bradford's law firm. Bradford chairs the Senate Healthcare Committee. He's already making calls, suggesting that maybe this investigation is politically motivated, that maybe you're being used as a pawn. I'm not a pawn. I know that, but Bradford is good at creating doubt. He'll paint you as an opportunist, a nurse who got lucky with a viral moment and is now trying to cash in. Let him try, Maya said. Her voice was steadier than she felt. I have documentation. I have witnesses. I have 200 other healthcare workers ready to testify. Good, because we're going to need all of it. The meeting lasted 4 hours. They discussed strategy, legal approaches, public messaging. By the end, Maya's head was pounding. She'd made more decisions in 4 hours than she usually made in a month. As people filed out, Okonkwo stopped Maya. You know what you're up against, right? The Castellanos have spent 3 generations building power in Philadelphia. They have friends in Congress, major donors. They're going to fight dirty. I know. And you're still willing to do this. Maya thought about Jamal Washington, about Nathan Chen, about every patient she'd ever saved, and every nurse who'd been punished for doing the same. I don't have a choice, she said. Okonkwo smiled. Good answer. Welcome to the fight. Maya flew back to Philadelphia that night. The girls were asleep when she got home. She checked on them. Jasmine sprawled across her bed with a textbook open. Jade curled up with her stuffed elephant that she'd had since she was 3 and refused to admit she still slept with. Her phone buzzed. Text from Marcus Castellano. Last chance. 3 million. Walk away now. Maya blocked the number, went to her bedroom, pulled out her mother's old stethoscope. The tubing was cracked, the earpieces worn smooth, but it still worked. She remembered her mother's words from nursing school. You're going to do great things. Just remember why you're doing this. It's not about the money or recognition. It's about the patient in front of you. Maya had spent 23 years following that advice, putting patients first. And it had cost her everything. Her job, her financial security, almost her daughter's futures. But standing in her small bedroom holding her mother's stethoscope, Maya realized something. She'd do it all again. Every decision, every choice, every consequence. Because some things mattered more than job security or money or the approval of powerful families. Saving lives mattered. Speaking truth mattered. Fighting for what was right mattered. The Castellanos had money and lawyers and political connections. But Maya had something they couldn't buy. She had 200 healthcare workers ready to fight. She had the vice president's support. She had a platform and a voice and a mission. And most importantly, she had the truth. The next morning, Maya woke up to an email from the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. They'd reviewed the evidence against Richard Castellano. They were filing criminal charges: fraud, falsifying medical records, witness intimidation. He was being arrested that afternoon. Maya forwarded the email to Dr. Sarah Chen, then to Janet Morris, then to every nurse and doctor who'd reached out offering support. By noon, the news was everywhere. Former hospital chief arrested on multiple charges. The photo showed Castellano in handcuffs being led out of his mansion. He looked smaller somehow, less imposing, just a man who'd spent his whole life believing rules didn't apply to him, until they did. Maya's phone rang. Patricia Rodriguez from Roosevelt ER. Maya, did you see? I saw. Everyone's talking about it. The hospital is in chaos. Half the board resigned. They're bringing in new administration. They're talking about policy reforms, about creating a patient advocacy board with actual power. That's good. It's because of you. You know that, right? You changed everything. Maya wasn't sure about that. She'd just done what needed doing. Spoken up when silence was easier. Fought back when walking away was safer. But maybe that was enough. Maybe that was how change happened. Not through grand gestures or perfect plans, but through one person deciding enough was enough. Patricia, Maya said. Do you remember the name of that surgical tech who was fired last year? The one who reported the contaminated instruments. Rachel Martinez. Why? Because she's the next person I'm going to help. Maya hung up and opened a new document on her laptop. The First Voice Initiative. Case file number 2. She typed Rachel Martinez's name at the top. Then she got to work. Because this was just the beginning. 6 months passed like a storm. Fast and destructive and transformative in ways Maya couldn't have predicted. Rachel Martinez was reinstated at Roosevelt Medical with back pay and a formal apology. The hospital implemented new whistleblower protections, created an independent patient safety board, hired 3 patient advocates whose only job was to make sure staff could report problems without fear. But Rachel was just the first. The First Voice Initiative logged 83 cases in the first 3 months. Nurses fired for reporting understaffing. Doctors demoted for questioning dangerous procedures. Medical students dismissed for speaking up about harassment. Every single case had the same pattern. Someone put patients first. Someone in power punished them for it. Maya worked 18-hour days. Jasmine and Jade learned to cook dinner for themselves, do their own laundry, navigate the world without their mother constantly present. They grew up faster than Maya wanted, but they also grew stronger. "Mom, you need to sleep," Jasmine said one night at 2 a.m. Maya was at the kitchen table, surrounded by case files and empty coffee cups. "You're going to burn out." "I can't. There's too much to do." "There will always be too much to do. That's not the point." Maya looked up at her daughter. 15 years old now. Taller, more confident, speaking with her father's pragmatic certainty. "When did you become the adult?" Maya asked. "Around the time you became a revolutionary." Jasmine closed Maya's laptop. "Bed, now. The cases will still be there tomorrow." Maya obeyed because arguing with Jasmine was like arguing with Thomas. Impossible and exhausting and ultimately pointless. But sleep didn't come easy. Every time Maya closed her eyes, she saw faces. Healthcare workers losing their jobs, losing their licenses, losing everything for doing what was right. The weight of it pressed down on her chest until breathing felt difficult. Her phone buzzed at 3 a.m. Text from Dr. Sarah Chen Sennett, hearing scheduled. June 15th. "They want you to testify." Maya sat up in bed. The Senate hearing. They'd been pushing for it for months. Senator Bradford had been blocking it, using procedural tricks, calling in favors. But Vice President Chen had applied pressure, made calls, reminded certain senators that elections had consequences. Now, it was happening. Maya would testify before Congress about healthcare worker retaliation, about the systemic problems that allowed hospitals to silence dissent, about what needed to change. She texted back, "I'll be ready." But she wasn't sure that was true. The next morning, Maya met with the ACLU lawyers to prep for testimony. They drilled her on questions, taught her how to handle hostile senators, how to stay calm when they tried to rattle her. "Bradford is going to come at you hard," one lawyer warned. "He'll try to paint you as a disgruntled employee with an axe to grind. He'll suggest you're being used by the administration for political gain." "Let him try," Maya said. "I have documentation. I have witnesses." "He'll say the witnesses are biased, that they're all people who got fired and are looking for revenge." "Then I'll talk about the patients, about Jamal Washington, about Nathan Chen, about every child who's alive because someone broke protocol to save them." The lawyer smiled grimly. "Good. Hold on to that, because Bradford is going to try to make you forget why you're doing this." The hearing was 4 weeks away. Maya spent every day preparing, reading policy documents, memorizing statistics, practicing answers until they sounded natural instead of rehearsed. But at night, doubt crept in. Who was she to testify before Congress? She was just a nurse, just a woman who'd gotten fired and gotten lucky. What if she messed up? What if she said the wrong thing? What if she made everything worse? 2 weeks before the hearing, Maya got a call from Marcus Castellano, his 5th attempt to reach her. She'd ignored the first 4. This time she answered. "What do you want? To give you some advice." His voice was different, less smooth, more desperate. "My brother is going to prison. Our family's reputation is destroyed. Fine. You won. But if you testify at that hearing, if you push for federal legislation, you're going to make enemies in every hospital system in America. Powerful enemies. Is that really what you want? I want healthcare workers to be protected, to be able to speak up without losing everything." That's naive. Maybe, but it's also right. Right doesn't win, Ms. Thompson. Power wins. Money wins. You're playing a game you don't understand against people who've been playing it for decades. Then I guess they're about to lose to an amateur. Maya hung up. Her hands were steady. No shaking. No doubt. For the first time since this all started, she felt absolutely certain. The night before the hearing, Maya couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow she would sit in front of Congress and tell her story. Tomorrow everything would change again. For better or worse. At midnight she got up and went to the girls' room. They were both awake. Jasmine on her phone. Jade reading a book by flashlight. "Can't sleep either," Maya asked. "Too nervous for you," Jade admitted. Maya sat on the edge of Jade's bed. I need to tell you something. If tomorrow goes badly, if I say the wrong thing, or if they twist my words, we might face consequences. Legal problems. Financial problems. I need you to be ready for that. We're ready, Jasmine said. We've been ready since the day you got fired. But if you want me to back out, if you want me to walk away and take a hospital job and go back to normal life, I will. You two are more important than any cause. Jasmine put down her phone and looked at Maya directly. Do you remember what you told us when Dad died? You said we had to keep going, that we honor him by living the values he taught us. Integrity, courage, doing what's right even when it's hard. That's different. It's not. Jasmine's voice was fierce. Dad would be at that hearing tomorrow. He'd be sitting in the front row cheering you on. And since he can't be there, we will. So don't you dare back out. Don't you dare make his death mean nothing by playing it safe. Maya felt tears on her face. She pulled both girls into a hug. They held each other in the dark. 3 people who'd lost everything and rebuilt from ashes. 3 people who understood that some things were worth fighting for, even when the odds were impossible. The Senate hearing room was more intimidating than Maya expected. High ceilings, dark wood paneling, senators sitting elevated behind a curved desk like judges at a trial, gallery packed with press and spectators. Maya sat at a small table facing them, a microphone in front of her, a glass of water she was too nervous to drink. The ACLU lawyer on her left, Dr. Sarah Chen on her right. And in the front row of the gallery, Jasmine and Jade, wearing their best clothes, holding a sign that said, "We love you, Mom." Senator Bradford called the hearing to order. He was exactly what Maya expected. Silver hair, expensive suit, smile that didn't reach his eyes. Ms. Thompson, Bradford began, thank you for being here. I want to start by acknowledging what happened to you was unfortunate. However, I'm concerned that we're about to enact sweeping federal legislation based on one incident, one viral moment. Can you help me understand why your experience should dictate policy for every hospital in America? Maya took a breath, remembered her training. Stay calm. Stick to facts. Senator, with respect, this isn't about one incident. The First Voice Initiative has documented over 200 cases of healthcare worker retaliation in the past 6 months. And those are just the cases we know about, the ones where people were brave enough to come forward. 200 alleged cases, Bradford corrected. All unverified, all from people with potential grudges against their employers. Verified by documentation, Senator, medical records, termination paperwork, witness statements. We have proof. Bradford smiled as, Thompson, you were fired from Roosevelt Medical for insubordination. Is that correct? I was fired for saving a child's life without waiting for insurance authorization. But the official documentation says insubordination, creating a hostile work environment. Those are serious charges. How do we know you're not simply a difficult employee who refused to follow rules? Maya felt anger rise, but pushed it down. Senator, the child I saved was named Jamal Washington. He was 6 years old. He was in anaphylactic shock. His oxygen saturation was 72% and dropping. Dr. Castellano was on the phone with insurance for 8 minutes while Jamal suffocated. I made a choice. Wait for authorization and watch him die, or act immediately and save his life. I chose life. If that makes me insubordinate, then I'm guilty. Someone in the gallery started clapping. Then another person. Then more. The room erupted in applause. Bradford banged his gavel. Order. I will have order. But the applause continued. Maya looked at the gallery, at nurses in scrubs who'd taken time off work to be here, at doctors in white coats, at patient advocates and families of people who'd been harmed by systems that prioritized profit over care. They were all standing, all clapping, for her. Bradford's face was red. "Ms. Thompson, I find your emotional appeals compelling but ultimately irrelevant. Healthcare is complicated. We can't make policy based on feelings." "Then make it based on data," Maya shot back. She pulled out a folder. The First Voice Initiative conducted a survey of 10,000 healthcare workers. 68% reported witnessing unsafe practices. 42% reported those practices to administration. Of that 42%, 74% faced retaliation. Lost shifts, bad performance reviews, hostile work environments, termination. "Senator, this isn't about feelings. This is about a system that punishes people for doing their jobs." Another senator spoke up. Elizabeth Park from California. "Ms. Thompson, what specifically are you asking us to do?" Maya had prepared for this question, practiced the answer 100 times, but now sitting in this room with all these people watching, she forgot her rehearsed speech. Instead, she spoke from the heart. "I'm asking you to make it illegal to fire healthcare workers for reporting safety concerns, to create federal protections that supersede hospital policies, to establish independent review boards that investigate retaliation claims, to hold administrators accountable when they prioritize profit over patients, and most importantly, to send a message that in America saving lives is not a fireable offense." The room was silent. Senator Park nodded slowly. "I think we can work with that." Bradford tried to derail the hearing several more times. He brought up Maya's financial struggles, suggested she was being paid by the administration, implied she was using tragedy for personal gain. Each time Maya responded with calm facts, documentation, statistics, the truth. And each time the gallery applauded louder. Finally, after 3 hours, Bradford gave up. "We'll take your recommendations under advisement. This hearing is adjourned." Maya stood on shaky legs. It was over. She'd done it. Jasmine and Jade rushed forward, wrapped her in a hug. "You were amazing," Jasmine whispered. "Dad would be so proud." The press surrounded them, questions flying, cameras flashing. But Maya didn't answer. She just held her daughters and let herself feel the weight of what had just happened. 3 months later, Maya stood in the rose garden of the White House. President himself was there. Vice President Chen. Members of Congress from both parties. Press from around the world. The president held a pen. In front of him a bill. The Healthcare Worker Protection Act. Federal legislation that made it illegal to retaliate against medical professionals who reported safety concerns, created whistleblower protections, established independent oversight. Everything Maya had asked for. "This bill exists because one nurse refused to stay silent," the president said. "Because Maya Thompson chose courage over comfort, justice over job security, and in doing so she changed healthcare in America." He signed the bill. Cameras clicked. Applause echoed across the garden. Then the president handed the pen to Maya. "Keep this. You earned it." Maya took the pen. It was heavier than she expected. She thought about the journey that led here, from fired nurse with $47 to the woman holding the pen that signed federal legislation. It felt impossible, but it had happened. After the ceremony, Maya found a quiet moment in the White House hallway. She pulled out her phone, scrolled to a photo of Thomas, her late husband, the man who'd taught her to fight for what was right, even when it was hard. "We did it," she whispered to the photo. "The girls and me. We actually did it." Her phone buzzed. Text from Dr. Sarah Chen Roosevelt Medical just announced they're renaming the ER, the Maya Thompson Emergency Department. They want you at the dedication ceremony next month. Maya smiled. The hospital that fired her was now naming a department after her. The poetry of it was almost too perfect. But she wasn't doing this for recognition. She was doing it for every healthcare worker who'd ever been punished for speaking up. For every patient who'd ever been harmed by a system that valued money over lives. For Jamal Washington and Nathan Chen and all the children who would live because someone chose courage over protocol. That evening, Maya flew back to Philadelphia, back to her small apartment, back to her daughters and her borrowed furniture, and her life that would never be normal again. Jasmine had cooked dinner, spaghetti. The same meal Maya had made the night she got fired. But this time there was garlic bread, a salad, dessert. "We can afford groceries now," Jasmine said with a grin. "So I went a little crazy." They ate together at the small kitchen table, talked about school and friends and ordinary things. For one evening, Maya wasn't a revolutionary, or an advocate, or a federal appointee. She was just a mother, having dinner with her daughters. After the girls went to bed, Maya walked to her bedroom, pulled out her mother's stethoscope, the one that had survived rain and chaos and the destruction of everything Maya thought her life would be. She held it in her hands, ran her fingers over the worn tubing, remembered her mother's words. "You're going to do great things. Just remember why you're doing this. It's about the patient in front of you." Maya had spent 23 years following that advice, and it had cost her a job, but it had also saved lives, changed laws, created a movement. She thought about the girl she'd been when she first became a nurse. Young, idealistic, believing that the system would protect people who did the right thing. How naive she'd been. But maybe that naivety had been necessary. Maybe you had to believe change was possible before you could create it. Her phone buzzed one last time. Email from the First Voice Initiative. Another case. A nurse in Texas fired for reporting medication errors. Requesting help. Maya opened her laptop, started a new case file. Because the work wasn't done, would never be done. There would always be more healthcare workers who needed protection, more patients who needed advocates, more battles to fight. But tonight, Maya had won. The law had changed, the system had shifted, and somewhere in America a nurse would speak up tomorrow without fear of losing everything. Because Maya Thompson had refused to stay silent. She typed a response to the Texas nurse. "We'll help you. You're not alone." Then she closed the laptop and went to bed. Tomorrow she would fight again. But tonight, she could rest. 6 months ago, Maya Thompson had been a fired nurse walking in the rain with a cardboard box and $47. Broken, humiliated, believing her life was over. She had been so wrong. Her life hadn't ended that day. It had transformed. She'd lost a job, but gained a mission. Lost security, but found purpose. Lost the life she'd planned, but discovered the life she was meant to live. And when she walked through the halls of Roosevelt Medical next month for the dedication ceremony, she wouldn't walk as a fired employee seeking vindication. She would walk as the woman who'd changed healthcare in America, the nurse who'd proven that courage could defeat corruption, the mother who'd shown her daughters that doing what was right mattered more than doing what was safe. Dr. Richard Castellano was in prison. Marcus Castellano's influence had crumbled. The family that had ruled Philadelphia healthcare for 3 generations was finished. But Maya Thompson was just beginning. Because that's what happened when you refused to be silenced, when you chose patience over profit, when you decided that some things were worth fighting for, even when the whole world told you to give up. You didn't just survive. you transformed. And in transforming yourself, you transformed the world. Maya closed her eyes and smiled. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new cases, new battles. But tonight she could sleep knowing she'd done what her mother asked, what Thomas would have wanted, what her daughters needed to see. She'd put the patient first. Always. And she'd changed healthcare forever because of it. That was enough. That was everything. The helicopter had landed 6 months ago looking for a nurse, and they'd found exactly what they needed. Not just someone who could save a life, but someone who could save a system. Someone who could fight back. Someone who refused to accept that doing the right thing should cost everything. They'd found Maya Thompson, fired nurse, single mother, revolutionary, and America was better for it.